We are here. It is time for another Star Wars Unlimited video. I guess today would be considered episode 2, and we're going to call it Quick Start Rules. Now, today I was actually going to record a different video because I had some hopes and speculations that I might share a little bit in this video. But when I woke up this morning, 5/26, so May 26th, I found that the rules for Star Wars Unlimited were released on the internet. Now, if it's a leak, that's not great, but because it's the basic rules of the game, I feel it's important for players to have those in their hand. If it was something to the effect of cards from the second set, third set, designs from down the line, that would be a crappier thing because that takes away ultimately the interaction and experience that the developers can have sharing those designs with players. There are some card designs in here, and I believe it references only cards that would either be in the first set or potentially within a starter product that we're going to see released down the line, I believe. You can't really have a game without a starter, release a game without a starter. Whether it's a two-player starter or similar to the old Destiny starters, we don't know yet. I don't have that information, but there's 24 pages here, and we're going to go over them as best we can. So, here we have the Star Wars Unlimited book. I saw this image on the quick teaser trailer for Star Wars Unlimited before the FFG Live a couple weeks ago. I was going to talk about this image. I might still talk about it later. I might talk about some of the card designs in this in depth, but today I really just want to go over the rules as best as I possibly can. So, Spark of Rebellion Quick Start Rules. Look, R2-D2. Overview. Star Wars Unlimited is a trading card game. We don't really have to worry about this. There is one piece of information here. 50 card deck containing units, events, and upgrades. The game is played over a series of rounds. During the action phase of each round, you'll play cards from your hand and use these cards to attack your opponent's base and units. Then in the regroup phase, you'll draw cards, build up your resources, and ready your units for the next round of battle. Early in the game, your leader will affect the battle passively, but eventually they'll join the fray as a powerful unit. Winning the game, each base starts the game with 30 hit points. If you deal enough damage to the enemy base to reduce it to 0, you win the game. So it's a basic life total. Two-player starter. Perfect. So, using the two-player starter. The starter contains 2 decks, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Each chooses one of those decks to play. Separate the double-sided leader, base, and tokens from the other 50 cards with the Star Wars Unlimited back. Take the 2 playmats and set them up facing each other. Follow the steps to set up the game. Put your base in play, facing the opponents. Put your leader in play below your base, horizontal side face up, non-unit. Randomly decide which player is going first. Give that character the initiative. Counter it is. Shuffle your deck, draw 6 cards to form your hand. You may take a mulligan. Thank you, Fantasy Flight, for a base mulligan. Shuffle your entire hand into your deck, draw 6 new cards. You must play the new hand. Strategy tip, we recommend taking a mulligan if your hand contains no units that cost 1 or 2 to play in the first round. Choose 2 cards from your hand and place them face down near your base. They are now your resources. You will use resources to pay for cards you played during the game. So, big pieces of information here. 50 card deck. 6 card hand. You do get a mulligan, and the game is based on resources, but it's similar to the old World of Warcraft trading card game, and also now Dragon Ball Super, where you take cards and you place them that represent your resources as a whole. I think technically versus 2-player battle game system, whatever it's called, does that as well. It also does it a little bit different. So does World of Warcraft with the quests. But to start the game with 2 resources, that's pretty unique. To just say, we got it, let's go. Which means you only start with 4 cards in your opening hand. That's also interesting. Start the game with the first action phase. So we get to see here the initiative counter, the deck, resources, how your base and leader should look. You'll note here, and let's go ahead and see if we can zoom in a little bit. We have the Administrator's Tower here, which is the yellow. There are names for these aspects, which we'll go into later, and then you have your actual hero itself. Damage counters, the epic action counter, and your hand. See, 4 cards in your hand. Most of the action phase. Most of the gameplay happens during the action phase. During this phase, players go back and forth taking 1 action at a time. So similar to Destiny and other action-based games. Alternating activations is what we call it in the skirmish game stuff. The player with the initiative counter takes the first action, then their opponent takes an action until both players have passed. The available actions to a player are play a card, attack with a unit, use an action ability, take the initiative, and pass. Play a card. Cards have a cost in the upper left-hand corner. We knew that. To play a card, reveal it from your hand and pay its cost by exhausting that many resources. For example, to play a card that costs 2, you must exhaust 2 of your resources. There are 3 types of cards that you can play: units, events, and upgrades. Each card type has different rules when played, as described in the following pages. So we have ready and exhausted, tapped, untapped, obviously because Wizards of the Coast owns the trademark to tapped and untapped. Everybody pretty much just uses ready and exhausted. Many of cards must be exhausted. You have exhaust abilities that utilize this icon, so on and so forth. You guys know what ready and exhausted are. Units enter play exhausted and remain in play until defeated. So that's their summoning sickness, is that you won't be able to attack the turn that it comes out because they're exhausted. But if you have things that bring things in ready, or can ready things that are exhausted, that's a pseudo-effective haste mechanic for different things. Units have power and HP. That's what I speculated these were going to be. Power indicates how much damage a unit deals in combat. If a unit ever has damage on it greater than or equal to its HP, it's defeated and put into the discard pile. So we can see here, we've got cost, aspect icons, the name of the card, what arena it takes place in. So Grand Moff Tarkin is ground. Traits: Imperial Officer, Power 2, HP 3, and the ability itself. We've seen the ability. We're going to go more in depth into abilities and kind of speculate on what each aspect will do in another video. Ground and space. Combat is divided into 2 separate areas: ground and space. Each unit is either a ground unit or a space unit. We can see a couple of units here. We've got an Alliance X-Wing, a TIE line fighter. We have a Death Star Stormtrooper and a Yoda. Again, we're going to go through all of these cards in a separate video. I just want to get the rules out to you guys so you know exactly how this game plays. Each unit is either a ground unit or a space unit, as indicated on the top of the card. All ground units are played into the ground arena on one side of the player's bases. All space go into the other side. In combat, ground units can't attack space units and vice versa. Events. Events have an ability in their text box. You can see right there. When you play an event, use its ability and put the event in your discard pile. So here, again, we have traits: tactic, name, vanquish, cost, 5, aspect icon, blue, ability, defeat a non-leader unit. So for 5 cost, you just pop a unit that's not a leader. Ooh, interesting. Upgrades. Upgrades enter play attached to a unit and remain in play until that unit is defeated. Upgrades provide increased power, HP, and or abilities to the attached unit. To attach an upgrade to a unit, slide the upgrade partially underneath the unit so that it shows the upgrade's power, HP, and abilities are visible. If the unit is an upgrade is attached to leaves play, defeat the upgrade, put it in the discard pile. So here again, cost, aspect icons, name, traits, item, weapon, lightsaber. This is Vader's lightsaber. This was another thing I was going to talk about in the video I was going to make today, because this image was behind the developers during the FFG Live, but I didn't get the opportunity to because they released this. We're almost halfway done with the rulebook, guys. Attached to a non-vehicle unit. When played, if the attached unit is Darth Vader, you may deal 4 damage to a ground unit. So if you attach this to Vader as a leader when it comes out into play, or a Vader unit down the line, you can do a bunch of damage to a unit. And then it'll give 3 bonus power and 3 bonus HP. I imagine there will be items that give just HP and items that will give just power, or upgrades, excuse me. Here we go. Attack with the unit. This is likely the most important piece of the game besides drawing cards. Attacking is the primary way to deal damage to an opponent's base and win the game. You can also attack enemy units. A unit must be ready in order to attack. So this explains it comes into play exhausted. You can't attack on the turn it comes into play unless otherwise stated. Only one unit can attack in a single action. To attack, follow the steps in order. Exhaust the attacker and choose what to attack. You may attack any enemy unit in the same arena as the attacker, or you may attack the opponent's base directly. If an enemy unit in the same arena as the attacker has Sentinel, it must be chosen as defender unless the attacker has Saboteur. So this is like guard or defender, not necessarily defender, but a taunt. That's what I'm looking for. Saboteur would be something that bypasses those. There are red keyword abilities at the end of this book. We'll go over all of those in this video as well. Any abilities that are active while the unit is attacking, including raid, become active at this time. If the attacker has Saboteur, defeat all shields on the defender. If the attacker has Restore, heal all damage from your base equal to, or heal damage from your base equal to its Restore value. If the attacker has any on-attack abilities, use them now. So it's interesting that the red icons go first before any attack abilities. That'll likely be an important step in making decisions on who's going to attack what and when you attack. Dealing damage. If a unit is attacking a base, it deals damage equal to its power to that base. If your unit is attacking another unit, the attacker and defender simultaneously deal damage equal to their power to each other. If either unit has damage on it greater than or equal to its HP, it is immediately defeated. So we have attack examples. The Consular Security Force attacks the enemy base to deal 3 damage because it has 3 power. However, if it attacks the Death Star Stormtrooper, each unit deals 3 damage because that's what their power is. The Stormtrooper is immediately defeated because it has 1 power, but the Consular Security Force has 7, so it remains with 4 HP on the board. Use an action ability. Some cards have action abilities. These abilities often have a cost that must be paid in order to use them, and found in brackets after the word action. The cost may include extra resources that must be paid, exhausting the card, or other effects. An epic action is an action ability that can only be used once per game. That's why that token was there. When you use the epic action, you place the token on the card to represent that it can no longer epic action. Take the initiative. Only one player can take this action each round. That the player that takes control of the initiative counter, even if they already have it, means that they will go first in the next round. After taking the initiative, you can't take any further actions for the rest of the action phase. You are considered a pass for all remaining actions. So Destiny players, this is very similar to claiming the battlefield, except there won't be any claiming the battlefield effect. You just say, I take the initiative, I am no longer participating in this round other than defensive reactions, and I will be first in the next round. If you can't or don't want to take any other actions, you may pass. When you pass, you are considered to have done nothing during your activation, and your opponent is immediately able to take their next action. You can still make other ones, so on and so forth. After a player passes, if their opponent passes or takes the initiative as the next action, the action phase immediately ends and play proceeds to the regroup phase, which is an interesting situation. This was very similar to Destiny. You can choose to pass to force your opponent to take the to claim the battlefield in Destiny, but here, if your opponent takes the initiative as a response to that, that ends the round, which has no other actions that can be taken in that phase. Whereas at least with Destiny, you can kind of still do other things if you're baiting your opponent into taking the battlefield, claiming the battlefield. Leader. Your leader is the centerpiece of your deck. It begins in the game on a horizontal non-unit side with an ability that that's available from the start of the game. Your leader also has an epic action that's not available at the start of the that's not available. Yes. Oh, right, because it has that text on it below it. Right. Sorry. Once you have enough resources, you may use this action to deploy your leader. Flip it to its unit side, move it to the ground arena, and ready it. This action doesn't cost any resources and can be used regardless of whether your leader is ready or exhausted. Ooh, so for Luke here, as we can see, we'll zoom in. If you control 6 or more resources, you can deploy him. It doesn't require you to pay said resources to do so. You just need to control them. That's a neat mechanic. I like that. While your leader is a play in unit, it can attack, be attacked, use its abilities like any other unit. If the leader is defeated, flip it back to its non-unit side, return it to its base, and exhaust it. Your leader's epic action can't be used again this game. Cover it with the epic action token as a reminder, but you can still use its other ability, any other passive ability. It does come into play ready, which means if your opponent doesn't have a response to the leader in their next action, you can immediately attack with your leader. That's cool. Regroup phase. After the action phase, play proceeds to the regroup phase. You and your opponent complete each of these in the following steps in any order. Draw 2 cards from your deck. 2, you resource a card. You may choose 1 card from your hand and put it into play face down as a resource, or you may not choose to put down a resource and keep all your cards in your hand. The player with the initiative chooses whether to put a resource down first, followed by the other player. I recommend players play a resource at each round until they have enough resources in play to use their leader's epic action. Ready cards. Ready all of your exhausted cards in play, including units, resources, and your leader. When both players have readied all their cards, play proceeds to the action phase of the next round. So this is probably going to be the second most important phase. I mean, obviously there's only 3 phases, but the second most important set of actions to take in a phase. Drawing cards, and then resourcing your card for the turn. You'll start with 2 always. So at the end of the first turn, you should have 3. By the end of the first whole turn, round, whatever they're going to call it in this structure. One thing I'm kind of a little apprehensive about is only drawing 2 cards as opposed to drawing up to a specific hand limit. We'll see how drawing cards in the actual action phase with other cards works, how important it will be because it is that alternating action. This is one of the few situations where having a action that allows you to draw cards might be detrimental to your overall strategy if it allows your opponent to do more things before you can do things. But we need to get gameplay in order to be able to actually figure that out, right? So here we go. Other rules, aspect icons. Most cards have one or more icons showing the aspect to which that card belongs. Each aspect represents a different philosophy or motivation. These icons tell you what the card's aspects are and may be referred to by card abilities. Aspects are important, when building your own custom deck. See page 20. We'll get to that. So we were just calling them blue, green, red, yellow, light, dark. Now we have vigilance for blue, command for green, aggression for red, cunning for yellow, heroism for light, and villainy for dark. So one of the things that I was going to go over in the video that I was going to make today was what I think each of these mean. And I'll go ahead and just quickly tell you guys what I think they mean, and then we'll go from there. Vigilance is going to be something that is based on defense. Command is going to be based on military might, so effectively a go wide strategy. Aggression is exactly what it sounds like, just attacking people until they get blown up, lots of damage. Cunning is going to be stuff like battle tricks or what would effectively be a go large. It's based on go tall, a strategy based on big characters, big heroic characters, right? And then heroism is obviously our light side good guy. Villainy is our dark side bad guy, right? Token cards. Token cards are set aside and not shuffled into the deck. Some of the cards may instruct you to give a token to a unit. To do so, take a set aside token of that type and attach it to a unit in play. An experience token gives an attached unit +1/+1. I did have this on my speculation list. A shield token prevents any amount of damage from being dealt to the attached unit, then is defeated. Ooh. If a token would leave play for any reason, set it aside. A shield token nullifies all damage in one instance. This is very interesting. My speculation was that each shield token would remove 1 damage taken, unless a card says deal 1 damage, deal 1 damage. If it was deal 2 damage, it would block all 2, but if it was deal 1 damage to a unit, deal 1 damage to a unit, then you would deal the damage, get rid of the shield, and then deal the damage, the second packet of damage. That's very interesting, to be able to just wipe out all damage on a unit. That makes Luke's shielded card, his action ability, very strong. Traits. All cards have traits, such as Rebel or Imperial, which appear in a small banner near the text box. Traits don't have their own rules, but some card abilities will affect cards with certain units. So one of the things I believe is going to happen is that there's going to be a lot of synergy with these traits. So cards you control are considered friendly. Cards your opponent controls are considered enemy. Unique cards. Unique cards represent specific characters or objects in the Star Wars universe and are indicated by a star before the card's name. You can only have 1 copy of each unique card in play at any time. If you ever run multiple copies of the same unique card in play under your control, you must immediately defeat one of them. Running out of cards in your deck. If you run out of cards in your deck, you continue playing with the cards you already have. Anytime you would draw a card from an empty deck, you instead deal 3 damage to your base for each card you would draw. For instance, when you would draw 2 cards in the regroup phase, you deal 6 damage to your base. Cool. That means that mill, while still a strong-ish strategy, is not going to instantly defeat you when you run out of cards on your deck. I think that's pretty good. Card abilities. Several types of abilities can be found in the text box on cards. Action abilities have bold text with the word action, sometimes with a cost in brackets, followed by a colon and an effect. Triggered abilities have a bold text indicating what the triggering condition is on the word when or on, followed by a colon and an effect. They resolve automatically after the triggering condition occurs and are mandatory unless they use the word may. 3 conditions that appear most often on the specific ruling have on attack, when defeated, and when played. Those are obvious. Keyword abilities appear in red text. Each keyword has specific rules associated with, described in detail on page 24, the last page of this book. Constant abilities appear on a card that remain in play and have no specialized styling. They are active as long as the card is in play, regardless of whether or not the card is ready or exhausted. Event abilities appear on events. They are one-time abilities that resolve when the event is played. Here is our most important aspect of the way that players are going to be playing the game, and I think there's some very unique stuff in here. Not necessarily unique, but very interesting stuff in here. After learning the basics of the game, the next step is to start building your own custom deck. Additional cards to customize your deck can be found in the Star Wars Unlimited booster packs, obviously. Your deck must include 1 leader, 1 base, and 50, did I do that right? Yeah, 50 cards consisting of units, events, and upgrades. Your deck cannot include more than 3 copies of any card. Your leader and your base each provide aspect tokens that dictate the colors of your deck. Your leader provides 2 icons, and your base provides 1, giving you a total of 3 icons total. Most cards in your deck have 1 or more aspect icons near their costs. You may include cards of any aspect in your deck, any aspect in your deck, but when playing a card with icons that are not provided by your leader, or your base, you must pay 2 extra resources for each missing icon. This additional cost is called the aspect penalty. In general, you should try to only put cards in your deck that match the aspect icons provided by your base and leader. So that's the interesting part. Your leader and your base will identify a color identity, but it does not lock you out of being able to play any other cards. And I think that's going to be one of the most important aspects of this game. Being able to play smaller cards for a middling cost, if their effect is good enough to fit what you need to do in your deck, it's not a detriment to your to the way that you want to play the game. For example, if your leader provides a vigilance and a heroism icon, and your base provides an aggression icon, cards with a single one of each of these will cost no extra. Cards with 2 of an individual icon, so vigilance, heroism, or aggression heroism, would cost no extra. But a card with a single command, cunning, or villainy, I think is what it was called, I should double check that, would cost 2 extra. Cards with a command and heroism icon will cost 2 extra because you have the heroism but not the command. A card with a vigilance icon would cost 2 extra because you do have 1 vigilance but you don't have the second one. And then a card with command villainy would cost 4 extra because you are missing both the command and the villainy icon. A good rule of thumb for your deck is to include 30 to 40 units with a mix of ground and space units and about 10 to 20 events and upgrades. You should make sure to include cards with a variety of costs, including plenty of 1 to 3 costs to play at the beginning of the game. We have the credits here. These are all the lovely people that helped make this game: lead game designer, game and design and development, producer, editing, proofreading, all these other lovely things. I'm gonna leave this up here on the screen for just a second. Go ahead and pause so you can take a look at all of these. And now we're gonna go to the next one. This is our licensing approvals. Visit us online at StarWarsUnlimited.com. That's a trap! The website's not a trap, but this is what he yells. This is cool. This is probably Admiral Akbar's actual card. In fact, I'm probably going to make this my thumbnail. Keyword glossary. So here's another one. Ambush. After you play this unit, it may ready and attack a unit. This unit doesn't ready if there are no enemy units to attack. Ooh, interesting. So I think I'm already at my first question. Does ambush happen immediately? Is it like ambush in Destiny where you take another action immediately? Or is it just telling me it starts ready? That's our first question already. Grit. This unit gets +1/+0 for each damage on it. So if you've got a hefty boy that's got a lot of damage on it, he could do a bunch of extra damage. Overwhelm. When this unit deals damage to an enemy unit while attacking, deal excess damage to that opponent's base. So it's trample. Raid. When this unit is attacking, it gets extra power equal to its raid value. So raid 2 would give an attacking unit +2/+0. And that's just at flat attacking, not necessarily attacking a base or a unit. Restore. When this unit attacks, heal damage from your base equal to its restore value before dealing damage. Example, a unit with Restore 2 heals 2 damage from your base when it attacks. Again, it's just when it attacks, not specifically a base or a character. Saboteur. When this unit attacks, ignore the Sentinel keyword on enemy units and defeat all shield tokens on the defender. So again, when attacks, base or character, you ignore Sentinel, which is the blocker, or the taunter, excuse me, and then you also defeat the shield tokens before damage is dealt, which is nice. Sentinel. Enemy units in the same arena, ground or space, as this unit cannot attack your non-Sentinel units in this area or your base. If you have multiple Sentinel units in the same arena, your opponent may choose which of the units to attack. So that's your taunt, defender, guard type unit that's going to protect the back line of whatever you have, base or units, from being attacked by other things. And then last, we have shielded. When you play this unit, give it a shield token. If any amount of damage would be dealt to the unit with a token on it, prevent that damage and defeat 1 shield token on the units. I'm excited, guys and gals. I am excited by what we're seeing here, what we've got. There are some cards that we'll go over in another video. I have images that are taken from a couple of different other sources. I'm going to speculate as to what some of those are, but ultimately I think that we are in a really good spot for this game coming out. The combat seems it's going to be quick. The resource system is a good approximation of making sure that you have to actually commit cards to do resources without being screwed on having specific types of resources or a separate deck of resources to bring into play. There's a couple of other games that do things like that. But I am very excited for reading these rules and seeing what else is going to be coming in the game. And there's one more thing I wanted to double check here, just to make sure I actually had the names of the aspects correct. Villainy, I was right. So vigilance, command, aggression, cunning, heroism, villainy. I know a lot of people are going to just say blue, green, red, yellow, white, black, or dark, light, dark, whatever. I am going to try to actually use the aspect names as best I possibly can so that people who are coming into the game can hear it, see it, and know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm excited. So this video should be going up sometime today. I know that doesn't matter because you're just going to watch the video as it goes up anyway. But I will be putting out another video talking about a couple of specific things and then hopes and wishes and other stuff like that as best I possibly can. I'll spend some time this weekend after I finish mowing my lawn, unfortunately. That's it. That's all I've got for this first video. I wanted to try to make it shorter. It's going to come in under 30 minutes. So that way you guys can just get the rules, see what it's like, so on and so forth. I don't have what I believe to be a safe link to these, but go ahead and take screenshots if you want of the rules on my screen as it pertains to the rules that you need. But that's it. That's all we have for this specific video. We're going to come out with another one. Like I said, I'm saying the same thing over and over because that's what I do. Hey, if you like this video, hit that like button. Give me a comment on what you are excited about for this game. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Follow me on all my socials and other things. Twitter, Twitch, this channel, obviously, RybackStun, all the different things that are there. I'm excited. I'm ready for this game to be here right now. But I know, obviously, it's not going to be here right now. But as I get more information, I will share that to you all as best I possibly can. So thank you very much. We'll see you guys next time in the stars.